Welcome to the greatest Royal Rumble. Now, I gotta say this, I did not watch the kickoff show because I had to go to a doctor's appointment that I didn't like and it got me upset. But I didn't watch it. I couldn't watch it. When I got home, I watched what I could from the show. It's like about 12 when I got back, a little after 12, and I saw a little bit of the first match. So I don't know what happened in the kickoff show. But to be honest, knowing the women were not there, I didn't care. And this is what I'm going to make very clear. I'm not trying to bash anybody from Saudi Arabia. I'm not. But if you're going to promote that you're more of a progressive culture, that your city is progressive, and that you let women and little girls into this show, into the arena, and watch it, wouldn't it have been better to have women there? Now, mind you, I know they normally don't let women do that type of stuff, maybe because of the way they wear their clothes, or they think that women shouldn't be allowed to do it. But if you're going to be such promoting, look at this shot right here. This is the woman that was in the vid pack saying that we have progressed so much. Yes, it's not a lot, but we have progressed so much. Women being able to drive and do so many things in the city. If you're going to do that, you should have a woman there, even if they couldn't wrestle. Even if the women couldn't wrestle and they had to wear plain clothes, to just show their presence would have been more important than them actually going into the ring. If you really want to promote women being more than what they were before, let women from another country come in, tell them they have to wear very conservative clothes, tell them that they can't wrestle but they can be seen and can speak their mind. That is the best way to show that you have progressed. But, of course, they didn't do that. I'm sure the king wasn't going to do it. But in the end, the show really didn't feel like much. And not just because the women were there. I have to say that when it came to the crowd was mostly dead. And I don't believe it's because of the culture, and I don't believe it was because it was late night. They were just dead most of the time. And it showed throughout the show. Now, I'm sure many people are going to say, it's the culture, they don't do that. Well, Japanese culture doesn't cheer every single time, but they make sure that when they do cheer, it fills every crevice of wherever they are. When they clap, you can feel it, even if it was in an open setting. It just felt a little empty to me personally. Now, first match, John Cena versus Triple H. We haven't seen the guys wrestle each other in 8 years. Competitively. Both of them are part-timers. But they did do a decent job here, and John Cena won. And John Cena tried to pander to the crowd, saying, we are so honored you're here. We're so glad you're here. We're so glad to be here. It is an honor. He's going to do this because he wants to make PR. Public relations. It's what he has to do. Now the question is John Cena taking off now? Supposedly I heard that he's going to be taking off for a while. Probably do another movie, probably do a TV show. Who knows? But in the end, this is what we got. Second, Kalisto versus Cedric Alexander. It wasn't a bad match. It was the first time these guys actually faced one another. But to be honest, he probably could have been on the kickoff show. Whatever was on it. I don't know what was on it. I'm not going to pretend I know what was on there. But in the end, it could have been on the kickoff show, to be honest. It could have been. It wasn't a bad match at all. And I'm not saying it was. But because the crowd was just not there, it brought it down for me. I'm sorry. Most of this show, the crowd barely cheered. Now, I know you could say, well, it could be because it's such an open area and you couldn't hear them. Come on. When they were ready to cheer really loudly, they cheered. They cheered their asses off when they were ready to cheer. So I just didn't feel very much hyping for it. Mind you, it was still an okay match for what it was. They still weren't allowed to go all out. That's how 205 Live is. They're not allowed to go out when they're not on 205 Live. Now, I mean, essentially the guys on 205 Live can go a little bit more out, go all out, while Triple H is running it. But in the pay-per-views, they don't go all out. That's the way it goes. They just did. And Cedric Alexander retains, I believe. Did he retain? Yes, he did. Now, The Bar versus Matt Hardy and Bray Wyatt. It wasn't a bad match. The crowd was behind Matt Hardy and Bray Wyatt most of this match. They just were. The crowd really loved Bray Wyatt, and they loved Matt Hardy. They loved it. Delete! They did love it. And it really went a long way to helping the match. It did. This wasn't one of the greatest matches of the entire show, but it was good enough to go right. And Matt Hardy and Bray Wyatt now have the tag titles. Let's see who they're going to go up against. Question is, who's left? The Office of Pain and a couple others. There's not that many teams there that are showing themselves yet. That's going to be a question. Who's going to be going up against them now? Let's see here. Jinder Mahal versus Jeff Hardy. Oh my gosh. That was bad. And it wasn't 100% because the crowd wasn't there. It's because both these guys were bad. Mind you, I'm glad to see Jeff Hardy now can leave the country again, because he was under court order not to be allowed to leave the country. He was. So now that that court order is finally ended and lifted, he can travel outside the country, at least as far as I understand. It was good to see him. But oh my gosh, this match was bad. This was bad, and it was not all Jinder's fault. And I know people want to say Jinder Mahal caused a freaking mess in this. Nope. Jeff clearly was as sloppy as Jinder Mahal. Both these guys were bad. At one point, there was supposed to be a whisper in the wind. Jeff basically missed the mark. He saw that Jinder was to his right, and Jinder didn't move. He was to his right, and it was stupid that he flipped, knowing full well he was on his right. And then Jinder, being stupid, falls to the ground after that. It was so bad. And I know people are going to say, no, Jeff did not miss the mark. Yes, he did, because you could see him turn his head to see where Jinder Mahal was when he did his flip. And I know he could have saw him in the corner of his left eye. And it was so bad. It was so bad how most of this match was going. Both of them were being a bit botchy, but that was the worst botch of the entire night. Well, I take that back. There was a worse botch than that. That was hilariously funny. I'll get to that. But that was a bad botch. Jeff managed to retain the U.S. the U.S. title. Was it the U.S. title? Yeah, it was the U.S. title. I'm tired. I'm sorry. It's just going to the doctor's office make you tired. Anyway, next will be the interview with Chris Jericho. It was good to see Chris back, but then it didn't work. A lot of the interviews in the back didn't work because the crowd really was not behind it. It was like the crowd didn't understand when they're talking, cheer for them, because they had to see them. No one said a freaking word. So that made almost every interview, which was his, Daniel Bryan, and who else's interview? I know there was another interview. I can't remember because it just felt bleh. There was no interest from the crowd. And it can't be because they've never done it before. Come on. It cannot be that those people have never done it before. Most of those people from Saudi Arabia left Saudi Arabia to go to America to watch WrestleMania. So they know how things work. So a lot of those people could have been cheering. It just felt so bad. Now, the IC match, ladder match. Samoa Joe versus The Miz versus Finn Balor and Seth Rollins. That was a good match. I'm not a big lover of ladder matches, but it was a good match. I'll say that it was kind of empty at certain points, but it was still a good, decent match. In the end, Finn Balor didn't even reach all the way up to the steps, and Seth Rollins jumps, grabs the title, and Finn looks totally disheveled next to having a nasty cut in his face. Is this a heel turn for Finn Balor? I'm hoping so, because I can't stand seeing Finn Balor smile every single time he comes out to the ring or there's a camera on him. He needs to be more heelish. He needs to be more aggressive. Maybe this is it. Probably not, but maybe. AJ versus Shinsuke Nakamura, the rematch. Whew. In WrestleMania, many people realized the match was not good. I felt that it was a very good technical match. The best technical match they had. I didn't say it was the best match tonight. I just said it was the best technical match. In this, it wasn't much different than the last match at the last pay-per-view. It just wasn't. I'm not saying it was great, but it wasn't that much different. It was a technical match with a lot of striking, not a lot of high flying, and I'm sure not many people are going to like it. I'm going to say it was good technically, but because the crowd was not 100% behind it all the way, it just felt flat. A lot of the matches felt flat due to the fact of the crowd not being behind it all the way. That's just me. I just felt like it. And in the end, what did we get? We got a double count out. I'll say by the end of the match, the crowd was into it enough that it gave me at least enough interest to want to see where they're going to go with this. We now do not have a clear-cut winner because Shinsuke Nakamura didn't win, AJ Styles didn't win, but AJ won the last match. If they understand not to do 50-50 booking in this, I wouldn't mind seeing it. And the nut shot was in effect. I'm alright with him getting a nut shot. It's in my face. Better off doing it that way. But this is what you get. Now, this is the match I hated the most. Not because it was a bad match. In fact, when it came to the Undertaker and Rusev match, Undertaker looked a lot better than he did in WrestleMania. He did. He looked a lot more fitter. He looked a lot more spry. I still believe he's still a guy who's not in very good shape because of the hip replacement and not looking like he can walk properly still. But I will say that he looked much better than he did in WrestleMania. Not only because it was more than 3 minutes. It was about a 13 to 14 minute match. He just looked better, at least until near the end of the match when he started to tire. The problem I have with this is that because Rusev had to be used in this situation, I said this in my last review in SmackDown. I know Rusev probably loves The Undertaker and he was honored to even be allowed to do a casket match with him. I'm sure he was tickled pink. But because people want to cheer him, and Aiden English just hyped it up, and even though it wasn't that strong of a hype, people did cheer for it. People want to cheer Rusev. Even the crowd there, as weak as it was, wanted to cheer Rusev. And we can't cheer him because he's supposed to be the heel. And in the end, not only Rusev went into the casket, it was Aiden English went into the casket, and the match was over. I'm glad if The Undertaker's getting better at doing more wrestling matches. He might do a couple more this year. It's not about him. He didn't look bad, like I said. It's just knowing that Rusev, who is a face, people want to cheer him. He's moving merch. He's giving people interest, and they're still fighting it to the point where eventually it's going to fade and it'll be over by the time they really do turn him. It just upsets me. The last singles match of the night was Roman Reigns versus Brock Lesnar in a steel cage. Oh my gosh. I know there's a lot of people that are... I know the Lex man is freaking happy. I know he is. Because he can't... I'm not saying he hates Roman Reigns personally. He don't care about the guy personally. He probably believes he's a good guy. He despises the character. And you see this match. It was... What do you have here? You got a decent match. And then you have an ending where Roman Reigns spears Brock Lesnar through the cage itself, and Brock Lesnar lands on his back, not his feet, and wins the freaking match. When it is clearly stated the first person who gets out of the crate, whose feet touch the cage, the floor, is the winner, and it's Brock Lesnar who pretty much wins it because they want to keep Brock Lesnar with the title, which is going to make people even more angrier that they don't get rid of the title off of Brock Lesnar, but then there's going to be a lot of people who is happy because they don't want to see Roman Reigns with it anyway. This is supposed to be a controversy on purpose. It's obvious they're doing this. It is obvious they're doing this to try and hype up another match between them. Maybe it'll be at SummerSlam. I don't know if they're going to do a Backlash. It would probably be wise if they didn't, because it would be stupid that they didn't change the belt here from Brock to Roman and they decided to do it at Backlash. I really believe that would be a waste of time. They should have done it here. But we don't know. Maybe they'll do it at SummerSlam. I don't know. But am I interested in this? No. It's obvious they're trying to piss me off by making a controversy. It is not working. I'm still not interested. I'm just not. Now, here we go. The 50-man Royal Rumble Battle Royal. Oh my gosh. We had a lot of people in there. Whew. The first person... The thing that gets me wasn't the person who didn't win. It was the people that just could have been given a little better shine that upset me. The first two starting this was Dolph and Daniel Bryan. I never have a problem with that. Putting two guys that are good enough workers to really keep it going most of the show, most of this match was fine. Mark Henry came in fifth. And he gets eliminated before even getting out of 10. He didn't even break the 10th person coming in. That angers my ass. I'm sorry. You know, it angers me to see that Mark Henry's used so badly over the years. And I know he probably had no problem doing it. He had no problem doing this in the WWE. I'm sure he was fine with it. But for me personally, he deserved a lot more than this. In fact, I don't know if he is fully retired. If he's not, and he's on SmackDown, I want to see Mark Henry get the WWE Championship. He earned it after all these years. But that's just me, and just upset me to see that he got eliminated before they even broke 10. Before they even broke 10, and the person that was at 10 was, who was 10? What is it? Nice from 205 Live. He didn't even make it there. And that sucked. Now, mind you, it was kind of surprising that Kofi Kingston did not do any weird stunts generally. Yeah, he was on the back of Xavier Woods and got saved that way. But you would expect him to do a little bit more than that. I guess he does it mainly one time a year. Really, really spectacular. Not saying it wasn't kind of cool to see him hold on to Xavier Woods, climb to the top ring rope, and then jump off Xavier Woods' back and then splash everybody. That was cool. But I would have thought he was going to do some type of spectacular thing. Maybe stand on his hands again. That would have worked. He could have done that. That's just me. One of the things I loved that was short, sweet, to the point. Hornswoggle coming out. Well, it was nice pop. I enjoyed that. Seeing Rey Mysterio, I said that earlier. I liked it. But the thing that was the most hilarious was Titus O'Neil's botch. Running down that ramp as fast as he could to get into that ring. And then tripping on the mat. And then flying under the freaking ring. Oh my gosh. I know I got a picture of it. It's in my face. That is hilarious. He's never going to live that down. I'm sorry. The commentator team, they basically owned him. Oh my gosh. It's one of the few times I can say commentary was funny. And commentary didn't know how to react to it when it happened. They pretty much was taken completely off guard when he tripped and ran right under the ring from that slide. And they just lost it. It was funny to see these guys trying not to burst out into laughter when these guys could not control themselves Corey Graves was burying Titus O'Neil. He wasn't because he was black. They were just burying his ass because it was so freaking funny. It's going to be one of those WrestleMania moments. No, not WrestleMania moments. One of those Royal Rumble moments that will never be lived down. It was bad enough with Santino Marella getting out within 2 or 3 seconds. This ends. That is it. And I know that when it came to Kurt Hawkins, when Braun Strowman grabbed his ass and just brought him back into the ring and then threw him out and they think that was the fastest time, forget it. No. Titus O'Neil, number 1. The Great Khali coming in at 45. The people popped for him. That was a surprise to see how much they were popping for the Great Khali. They popped, get this, they popped more for him than Mojo Rawley. And everyone thought Mojo Rawley was going to get a huge pop. Because I heard some people who did reviews on SmackDown or Raw, wherever he is, and they thought he was going to get a pop. He didn't get any pop when he came out. I didn't hear not one pop for Mojo Rawley generally. No one cared. So that shows they really didn't know anything about what the Saudi crowd wanted. But they definitely popped for Great Khali. They popped their asses off. They were loud for that guy. So that was a surprise. They also popped for Randy Orton. They did not pop for... who didn't they pop for? I forgot who it was. There was someone I thought they were popped for, but they didn't. I can't remember who it was. They did pop a little bit for Kurt Angle, but not really loud. So a lot of people you thought they were going to pop for and yell and scream for, they didn't do it. And that was kind of a surprise. Like with Finn Balor in the IC title. When Finn came out, you would expect them to cheer loudly for Finn. Nope. So the WWE really thought that going to Saudi Arabia to get really, I know they got a good amount of money going there. But they thought the crowd would really be behind most of the people there. I didn't see it. I could be wrong. Maybe I'm being biased. Maybe my depression's kicking in. But I didn't see nothing. Very few people they popped for. They did pop for Braun Strowman. They did pop for, not for Big Cass. They did pop for Bobby Lashley a little bit. And that's kind of surprising. You would expect them to pop a little louder. They did pop for a little bit for Rey Mysterio. Now, mind you, maybe it's because the music was so loud it was overwhelming the crowd. But I do not believe that's true. And I'm sure a couple of people may say that. I just don't see it. It got very... By like the 30s, it was getting a little, well, not slow, but more physical. When Ray got in there, when did Ray come in? Ray came in at, oh, I forgot where Ray came in. Where was Ray? I'm looking at my list, ladies and gentlemen. Ray was 26, just before he hit the 30s. By the time he hit the 30s, it was becoming more and more physical. And when it came to Daniel Bryan, who I must say, Daniel Bryan did a very good job, lasting about 116 minutes, looking like his chest had been eaten by a grater. I'm sure you can see it in my face. He got his ass handed to him. And also, Elias got a good pop. Not a great one, but a good one. And he stayed there for quite a long time. He stayed like over 30 minutes. Before Braun Strowman came in and wrecked face. Before Kurt Angle came in there and wrecked face. And who else really wrecked face? I can't remember who else. There was one more person who wrecked some face. I can't remember. But, who was? Randy Orton as well, kind of wrecked face. In the end, we got a good Royal Rumble. And at the last 3 people we had, Braun Strowman, you got Big Cass, and then they threw out Daniel Bryan last. Daniel Bryan was the last one to be thrown out. So it was down to Big Cass and Braun Strowman. I would have liked to see Daniel Bryan be one of the last 2. Then even if he had to lose, it would have been a little bit more of a payout. But in the end, Braun Strowman won. He won the trophy, and then he won a title. What title is that? The world greatest Royal Rumble winner? What is he gonna do with that title? Is he gonna wear it? Are they gonna give that title an actual? Are they gonna give that belt an actual title? That's gonna be a question. What the hell is that title? Is it a real title, or is it just for Braun Strowman? That's going to be a question when we see him on Raw this Monday. What exactly are we getting with him with a belt? Because they're not going to really talk about the trophy itself. But I will say, you see the King, you see Vince McMahon, and you see Braun Strowman in the ring. And the King joking around saying, oh, no, you're not keeping this out of his mind. Oh, here, no problem. I'll say this about this Royal Rumble. I'll say this about this show. Was it good? No. It wasn't 100% good. It was okay. It was an okay show. And, oh, I know I could say something about the Bludgeon Brothers. I don't want to because Naomi was not there. Just in case people are saying, hey, you forgot about the Bludgeon Brothers with the Usos. No, I didn't. I don't want to talk about them because this should never happen. Because with Naomi not there, it really didn't give anything extra that really interests me. Because it was more interesting this Tuesday that just passed with Naomi helping them than actually not having her there. So it didn't really matter. So when you see this show, it really kind of mattered, but it really didn't. It's a nice milestone for the WWE actually being Saudi Arabia for the first time. They got that option. They got that opportunity. But did we actually get something exciting? No. And I just feel like it was like an average pay-per-view. And the problem of that being an average pay-per-view was because the crowd was not behind it. I'm sorry. That was the problem of this pay-per-view. I don't hate the Saudi Arabian crowd. I don't hate the Jeddah crowd or the ones that was at that arena. I just believe because they weren't 100% interested. And it can't be because it was really late at night. And it can't be because the sound was really loud. When there was no sound, they were not saying a word. They were not screaming or yelling or cheering. It was just quiet. Even in the Tokyo Dome, and I've seen some shots in Tokyo Dome, yes, it gets quiet. But the crowd begins to build and build and build until they give you a huge standing ovation. You can hear the crowd interested. This crowd was mildly interested, and it really took away from the show for me personally. I say it was an average pay-per-view. But that's just me. You guys tell me below. Have a good day. Have a good night. Peace. I'm so tired.